Then the fun began.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay, thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. We're gonna call the meeting to order here. It's now 5 o'clock. Just we're here. Out of the way here. Just note that this meeting is being broadcast and recorded. Recordings will be made available on the town's YouTube channel. Moving through the minutes here, we're down to 3.1 there. The minutes be adopted by the fire exec committee. And that those confidential minutes of the closed sessions of committee remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with the exemptions provided in the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection Privacy Act. And that's the fire exec committee meeting of May the 13th, 2024. So has everybody had an opportunity to read those minutes? That was moved by Gary Atkinson, seconded by Kristen Rodriguez. Any yeah, all in favor of those minutes? Gary? Yeah. Organized here. Okay, number 4 on the agenda tonight. Business arising from the previous minutes. No items at this time. Anybody else got any business arising from those minutes? No? Okay. 5.1 on the agenda there, that the fire exec committee receives and approves the payables for May 2024, and that was moved by Kristen Rodriguez and seconded by Gary Atkinson. You have that in front of you. Any questions on the payable? Gary?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, actually, maybe let Councilor Rodriguez go first. I've got a fine line here. I believe she has some as well.
Yes, Hurricane SMS. It looks like it was, cleanup from the fire, maybe? I don't know. What it referring? It was large expenses there.
If I may, through the chair, absolutely, I knew this question would come up. So this was from the fire on the 20th of November. We did have to pump the basement out of what we would call gray or what would be possibly contaminated water for the purposes of the investigation. Initially, the folks that were remediating it or on behalf of the insurance company had agreed that it would not be an issue. Nicole and myself have been back and forth. This money will not be coming out of our budget. We will be reclaiming this cost. Either against the land or the property owner or through the appropriate insurance company. We're in that process. Unfortunately, the insurance company chose the wrong folks to do the remediation initially. And they're in a fight with them. So, but bottom line is this cost will be recovered.
Okay, because that was my concern. Why wouldn't this be borne through the landowner and the insurance company? And how did it get back to us? And is this something that happens from time to time? And what's the time of recovery on such an event? If this is the norm? I just feel like it's outside of our scope. I don't know how we.
You're absolutely right, Counselor. It should have been dealt with in a different perspective. This is not a reflected of us as much as the situation that was given through the insurance company. We are going back on this, though. This money will be recovered.
So it's not a common occurrence?
No, really, it's not. And to be honest, I think this whole situation I've never seen where an insurance company has kind of done what they've done here, and it's very unusual.
Sorry, I don't mean to press. I'm just trying to get clarification. So the insurance company ordered these people?
No, we, as part of the investigation to make the area safe, the fire investigators had to get in the basement to look at the actual electrical from the building. As it's one of the major systems that we're concerned with when we investigate a fire. Due to the large volume of water it took to suppress the fire, the basement was right full. So we had about, what, 30,000 gallons in there of water that had to be pumped out, removed, and then taken to clean, I believe clean whatever.
Harbors, there.
Yeah. And so we just can't pump it into the street. So this, of course, because it is the cost of fire, the legislation is on our side on this one, and it is cost recoverable. What happened, I think, initially was with the folks that initially showed up to do the insurance remediation, the fencing off and stuff. There seems to have been a falling out between the insurance company and them. This should not be our issue. So we are pushing back significantly on this. So that money will be recovered. Bottom line is, it's either gonna come through our cost recovery bylaw, or I have the ability to write an order under the FPPA and get the money back.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was looking for. What are those avenues?
So we will be getting the money back. And it's unfortunate because of the set of circumstances overall, but this is not on us.
Okay, thank you.
Well, just to add on to that, Councilor Rodriguez's question, like I'm looking at 5 different charges here. And they're all at different amounts, and then you jump up to the 18,000. I'm presuming, but I could be wrong here, those charges are with the weight of the product that they're taking out for what they're being charged. But then at the end, we're jumping up from 5,000 range to $18,000. That question came to my light right off the bat. What's the big difference on that? Do we have an answer for that, Chief?
If I may through the chair, I can't speak to that, but again, this is a matter that the insurance company and the property owner should be settling. Really, this is really outside of our scope. And unfortunately, we got caught in the middle, so right now we'll end up with cost recovery, and then at that point in time, that the property owner can then settle that with the insurance company.
Wouldn't say for sure or anything else, but just look at those costs. And the last one would probably include the bill from Clean Harbors. That this is the trucking and their work and everything else.
Right.
And then Clean Harbors will charge HSE or whatever, the hurricane there, that. So that bill would come back to us, back to the insurance as whoever. That, so I'm thinking that's probably the final bill for Clean Harbors for their incineration of the
Disposal fee, more or less.
Yeah.
Okay, but I guess, right, I understand that we're caught in the middle. We're gonna try to recover, but moving forward, we should obviously we'll make sure we don't get caught like that again.
Well, through the chair, absolutely, your worship, we've kind of already made sure this won't happen again. The reality here is that we have another way of dealing with this that we've set up with a company called Belfort. That in the future, we'll just be calling them and walking away. They even provide fire watch. So we're gonna be looking at that program pretty heavy. And this would, again, we would not be involved in that. It would be strictly third party through the insurance company and the property owner.
Okay. The last thing I have, if I may, Mr. Chair, just a comment. We had an ambulance fee for a firefighter injury that I knew that something had happened, but I believe the firefighter's okay now. Everything was good.
That's correct. So if I may through the chair, this was one of our firefighters that was unfortunately injured at a field fire a few months ago. He's since returned to full duties at his regular job and our job. Unfortunately, the way WSIB works is they won't cover the cost of the ambulance. We're on the hook for that. So we pay for the ambulance fee.
Right. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I don't mean to reverberate on this hurricane, but you had brought up that you're looking at other avenues, like Belfort, for example, which would probably add costs, I would assume, for fire watch, them taking care of things. I guess I'm still stuck on. If we didn't order the work done, how are we accepting the bill? Like that's the part I'm stuck on. I don't understand.
Well, if I may through the chair, it kind of, like I said, I think some wires got crossed here. I'll answer your question in two parts. First of all, Balfour has a new program called Board Up. And they will not charge fire departments or municipalities on anything. Their hope is that they will get the restoration fee from the insurance company. It's quite a nice program they've offered. It's been going through the states. They're now doing it in Ontario. Quite a few fire services have signed up for it. And what it is essentially they show up when we call them. They have a 24-hour number. They'll come board up everything. They'll look after the property. And then they'll submit everything to the insurance company. The insurance company in hopes that they'll get the cost recovery. They're finding that for the most part, insurance companies are quick to say, yeah, just go ahead and for the cost that they might cost them, where they might have suffer a loss through one or two fires, they'll make up in other insurance claims they've made. So it's a program they're offering to reduce the amount of work that we're gonna have to do as fire departments to actually go through the process of providing certain things. And in the end, cost savings for us. This type of program is exactly, this situation here is exactly why they've come out with this program. Right, so we don't end up on the hook. And I mean, when it comes to cost recovery for hurricane, at the time, when I had to find somebody too sweet. So we were calling through everything, and a hurricane actually was referred to us by the folks that we have our contract with for our water supply, Jacobs. And I think it ended up somewhere in there, things got twisted and we ended up with the bill. It should have gone to DKI. Nicole has done an extensive amount of work trying to get hold of DKI. She has a number of man hours into doing that. They refused literally to answer our calls, even though on the phone, when I had spoken to them initially at the scene, they had agreed to pay for it. The insurance company wasn't getting hold of them. So now we're in a position where, what do we do with this? So we then go back to the property owner. We speak to the property owners, explain the situation. Property owner put us in touch with his insurance company. His insurance agent then sent us an email, said, no problem, we'll cover it. And now we're on the back and forth between them. And I just said to Nicole, I said, at the end of the day, this is not an us problem. This is an insurance and property owner problem. And this needs to go back on them. And we have to cost recovery. So if it means that we unfortunately have to put it against the property taxes, and then they fight it out through the insurance tribunal, then that's what we have to happen. Initially, they needed their money. This has been ongoing for 6 months. So this is just the way the cookie crumbled. It is what it is.
Correct me if I'm wrong, chief, the department was under care and control of the scene. They were there assisting the fire marshal's office in the investigation.
That's correct.
The fire office, fire marshal asked the basement to be pumped out. Because we're in care of the control of the scene, we have to take care of that. So sometimes you're gonna have costs come back because the insurance company is not gonna necessarily take it up right away when it's in the result of an investigation. But there's the mechanisms, as the chief said, to recuperate those costs.
So. Exactly, and there is also, I said, as I stated to the chair, there is also the fact that I can go after those cost recoveries through the act itself. We're hoping we don't get there. I don't think we're going to. I think cooler heads will prevail. This is a fairly reputable insurance company. So I think when push comes to shove, we'll probably end up with the money without a whole lot of work.
Okay. So just looking at this same thing, like I'm looking at that 18,000. Now I haven't used my calculator, but when you look at those figures up above it, it's almost that is $18,000. I'm wondering, is that 18,000 a total? You add that up, like say 6,000, 6,000, 2014 plus 3, 16, 17, but that's not far off. That might be totaling both figures. Could be wrong, but
Staff will review the invoices to make sure that there's no double invoices in there.
yeah. You look at that,
But just on the surface, it looks like the first 4 are for hours. And the second one would be for disposal.
I think so. Could be,
But
yeah.
we'll make sure that staff reviews the invoices.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that pumped the entire basement out, did it? I think that only got it down to about a foot.
Really?
Yeah.
You had up a lot of water. Okay, any other invoices? Yeah, Kristen, no?
It's not quite the same amount, Bob, just so you know.
Oh, not quite, is it? Must be close, is it?
It is 17,880.
What?
17,880.
880, yeah, so that's what made me think of just adding it up. Okay. Any other questions on this?
No, sir.
Okay, I just have one there, and that's at the Lambton College, 2 charges there at Lambton College. Hot tower rental, hot tower bins, monitoring technician, and I'm assuming that somebody got paid to monitor something. 2 charges there, which pretty significant. What is that on?
Mr. Chair,
Seeing that on there.
No, absolutely. So this is, these were live fire dates that were booked prior to me coming, and we had to, obviously, one of them was taken care of prior to me even getting here. I don't know what the delay was with Lambton College billing us. There was a significant delay. But we have, we've had a chat with the folks that coordinate Lambton College in the future. Their recovery or their billing time will be shorter so that we can forecast for this. We do typically use them for about 3 live fire days a year. At least we will be. And we do have a significant money set aside to cover those costs in the budget. So unfortunately, the way this is going to work, that we're probably okay, but this should have been coming out of last year's budget. It's gonna end up coming out of this year's budget. But we were fortunate enough that we kind of forecasted that that might happen, so we've left money there.
So just in that same charge, monitoring technician, who are we, who was that work?
I mean, we have to pay for a employee to be there.
The
When we're doing burns. It has to do with, I believe, the water supply, doesn't it? And the use of the facility itself.
Yeah, they need someone from the fire school present on scene or on the location when we're there the entire time.
And obviously they're unionized employees, so they get paid at a set rate.
And I just had one other question, just under that London line convenience fuel for trucks. Is that gas for your truck, maybe, or?
No, that would be probably for the truck 5 or truck 9, or would be after hours when the yard isn't open to fill those trucks. We've had calls, they have to go back, they have to top up the truck. We don't have regular gas ability to fill up we do for diesel. We have a separate tank for diesel with a separate code, all that stuff. But when it comes to regular gas, we have to fill up during working hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So we're trying to get better about this, getting some, getting that done through regular hours, but it is a bit of a challenge because then we have to bring somebody in if, and incidents always happen when they're convenient to us being able to get in and get gas, unless, Adam, you look like you went out.
It's not what I remember agreeing to when I was in public.
Well, the pickup trucks are all times.
So pickup trucks,
The truck being filled there should be truck 10. Pickups are filled no matter what time. At the petrol can.
okay, that's what I thought, because
Okay, let me get some clarity on that, because something's obviously not been communicated, at least to me properly, so. Let me get some clarity on that, see exactly what's going on, and then we'll make sure that there's a concrete policy in place.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just wondered why.
Because, I'm filling up, I know there was one time I had to fill up my truck at the travel center, or the Flying J, because we were leaving for a conference at 4 in the morning. And there was no other place to fill it up. So, but yeah, that was certainly wasn't the amount that I'm seeing there.
Yeah,
So let me look into that a little further.
okay, because I mean, there was a cost savings to us there to fill up at our own tanks, but
I think we have keys for the yard too.
yeah.
So I'm only aware of us filling up the diesel,
Yeah.
the trucks with diesel at the yard.
Yeah, there was our own tank put in and everything else for diesel.
But pickup trucks, truck 5, truck 9 are generally filled up at Petrocan.
So I think that there is a conversation to be had there. I think we should be able to access those after hours somehow. I do believe the issue is that they're shut off inside the building. When,
I think there's a lock switch that you use for the diesel though, isn't there?
yeah,
On the outside for the fire department tank.
I think the problem was we ran out of isolation room for an additional tank. And that's why you're still buying gas at the gas station instead of there.
and I mean, if it is possible, maybe what we can do is we can set something up that we have somebody in during the day. They go in and make sure those vehicles are topped up at the yard, but I mean, we can't guarantee that that's gonna work out on a Saturday or Sunday if we have a major event.
Yeah, you fill up after if you're out, you fill up before you get, yeah, absolutely. Okay, yeah, you don't want to have the gas into
We
the,
have a requirement that all vehicles can't be below any 3/4 of a tank at any time.
okay, I don't have anything else on that list. Yeah, Christian?
But I do think that there is a conversation to be had there about how we can maybe streamline that a little better.
Okay. We'll leave that with you for your next agenda. Yeah.
On the first item, the A&W locksmith. Changing codes at the Wyoming.
If I may.
Everybody forget their code.
No. To the chair, if I may, we did have a gentleman placed on administrative leave. And we changed the code for the safety of our employees. It's just, we don't, that way that individual, for them, protect them as well. They can't be accused of going into the buildings when they're not supposed to. And then it protects our employees as well.
So follow-up question, did you change them at Kamlaki also?
They're both halls are done.
It's just
There's 5 doors at $50 each.
So this was really Wyoming and Kamlaki?
Yeah.
It only states Wyoming.
Right.
Yeah, no, and ironically, I got to Wyoming and I said, there's 4 doors to change, and he only changed 2, but he goes, but he came back and he said, oh, you're right, I didn't read my service order. So because Wyoming was the last station he was at, that's what the bill, the name.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor of the payables? Gary, thank you. Hey, 6.1 there. Purchase of the 2001 E1 cyclone, let me read it right off the motion here. That the report prepared by Eric Campbell, Director of Fire Services, and Chris Freer, District Chief, regarding the purchase of a 2001 E1 Cyclone 2 Superior Rear Mount Ladder with a 1,500 gallon per minute L pump be received. The Fire Exec Committee supports the purchase of the unit from St. Thomas Fire and Rescue Services for $35,000. Report be forwarded to council for their approval. And that was moved by Kristen Rodriguez and seconded by Dave. So we want to get into that discussion. We'll open up the floor.
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yeah.
So we've had a slight change. St. Thomas Fire Chief informed us late Friday afternoon that they're not in a position to sell the truck directly, so now we have to go through a dealer, which is the same dealer, ironically, that brought the dealer to our attention. So the price did increase, not by much, by $5,000. So in order for us to buy it through the dealer, with all the fees and everything, it is an additional $5,000. So it's a $40,000 truck now from the dealer. So the motion will have to be amended to 40, and then from the 1,200 degrees, which is the dealer. So if that's so a way that the committee so chooses to go.
Okay. Kristen, Gary, that you've made the motions, can feel
Would
that,
accept
that change,
for the motion to be on the floor, sure. I'm okay with it.
change for the 40,000, 35 to 40.
For discussion to get it on the floor, yes. Yep.
Just initial change. Wait before I pass this over to you to have your initials. Okay, any more discussion on this particular topic? Yeah, go ahead, Kristen.
Well, Gary,
Go ahead.
um,
Pages or two?
well, smaller print, so I can fit it into one.
I tried to print legibly on my.
Yours, picking on me. So I just want to say, first of all, that I fully support all the statements regarding the need. No issues with that whatsoever. I also support the costs that are associated with all the extras you get for it, the extra ladders. The training from the fire people in St. Thomas. The overall cost per year. That's if you take the account for the cost of the vehicle. 12,000 and to decaled properly in the LED lights. And 1,800 increase per year, it's about 12,000 a year. 400. Not accounting for any other maintenance costs. Only 5 years. That number is spread it over 5 years. And the reason why I go to the 5 years is because you mentioned that you expect this to be its life capacity here to be 5 years.
It may, if I may, it might be longer. It all depends on how well we, the truck lasts. I mean, it's just like everything else. We have forecasted initially to look at it for 5 years.
So I appreciate that. So, I guess I just have some questions.
Fire away.
Thank you. I'm gonna. So first I'd just like to know, just wrap my head around it all. I think I just want to add, I agree, like with this modern housing and stuff, you know, having less firefighters in and more to safe distance. It's low cost for that. But how many times per year are we utilizing the ladder truck from Petrolia? And does Forest the Lakeshore area through that mutual agreement? Because I'm not familiar. And then what are the costs associated with utilizing those external
So
sources?
we can, like, last year we used Petrolia's ladder, what, 2 or 3 times? We can't predict on how often we're really gonna need it. We have on average 4 to 8 significant structure fires a year, so chances are we're gonna use it 4 to 8 times, depending. That's just for structure fires. We could end up using it for other purposes as well. Now, the costs associated with, there's 3 points to your question. First of all, let's talk about Forest. Plympton Shores doesn't currently have a ladder truck. All right, so that means we're calling for Petrolia or for Sarnia to come all the way across. All right, the other part is that in order for us, and we talked about it last time we were in, and I don't want to get too much into the risk side of it, but when we talk about automatic aid and not being reciprocal, that means we're going to have to pay a standby fee. And it's going to be significant. It's probably going to be around $3,000 a year, having talked to the chiefs that are involved. That's generally what they are, and then a usage fee. So you're looking at approximately, for us to arrange so that both ends of the township are adequately covered, you're looking at around $6,000 a year for a automatic aid agreement, for a standby fee, and then whatever fee that we will pay. Now, traditionally, we have never been billed, but having said that, as we spoke to in the last meeting, there's a bit of a liability there issue. This is one of the reasons that we would be entering in that automatic aid agreement. So there is a bit of a cost savings there. In fact, when you look at the fact that we have to we're looking at getting rid of pump 3 and putting that in to replace it in the fleet as a reserve pumper. So that our fuss rating is maintained. Then if you look at it from that perspective, that now mitigates that $2,200 a year that we pay for pump 3. That $100 a year goes back into the ladder truck. The additional $1,800 a year is to certify the ladder.
I understand that, and I got all those other aspects. I'm just trying to focus in on what I still have some
There is,
questions about. So the next thing, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So the staff report notes that Cam Lackey has seen the most growth, which involves the more pressing need to have these types of trucks for fires due to the nature of today's building products being used. I don't see this purchase as being beneficial in any meaningful way to that area, as the truck's gonna be stationed at Wyoming. But Cam Lackey station covers that north end for adequate response times. I would assume that's why you're there. The truck is noted as a reserve, but the report to me accentuates the need to have it used more of as a primary tool. Because of these types of structures you're dealing when fighting fires. So it just seems a bit convoluted to me what you're trying to get across.
Wait, so if I may through the chair, let me clarify. So we want to put listed as reserve for fuss rating, so it doesn't interfere with our fire underwriter survey rating. So we're not going to say that, you know, if we put it in, if we list it reserve, it gives us a bit of a window for ensuring that our fuss rating, those numbers stay roughly the same. So we're
Sorry, are you saying frustrating?
fuss rating, fire
Frustrating, okay.
fuss rating. FUS,
Thank you.
fire underwriter survey. As we talked about before, they're the ones that set the rates for your fire insurance. So we want to maintain those insurance rates, right? So we would list it as a reserve pumper in order to do that. There's no stipulation on how often we use that pumper, whether it maintains a reserve status or not. So if we decide that we're going to roll it, say, to whatever type of call, that's up to us. It's a reserve unit. We're gonna use it. If nothing else, we can say that, you know, in this situation, it's gonna move bodies. Right? That's why that's not convoluted. That's just a way of keeping our rating fluctuating. So does that clarify that? Now, as part, sorry if I may, as far as Cam Lackey goes, it won't fit in the hall.
No, which is fine. I'm not saying Cam Lackey's getting shorted here. I'm just saying it's not benefiting Cam Lackey area in any meaningful way. I mean, it'll be late to the party, I guess, and is a way of saying it. But it could help, I'm sure. It'll still, it won't have a primary.
Still be quicker than petroleum or Sarnia coming in those areas, so.
And that's the reality, is that when it's initially paged, instead of us going ahead and requesting that apparatus, it will come. Right? So we know that it's coming with our firefighters and we know it's guaranteed to come. We also know that if Sarnia is tied up, say, with another call, they can't release that apparatus, then we're without in the north end. Then we're waiting for Petrolia to respond. And one of the case studies we talked about was Petrolia. They were around 11 minutes from the last major structure fire we called them. Because they had to be toned, we had to be toned. Then Chris on his way to the call requested they be toned. Then they had to assemble and then they had to get there. With this, we're reducing that because now we're only gonna get toned one time. We're only gonna have one assembly time versus another department also having to assemble.
No, I got that. So speaking of Sarnia, does Brights Grove have a ladder? So it would come from right in Sarnia.
Yeah, the Wellington Street has a ladder and Churchill, Scott Road. Where all has the ladder truck.
Perfect, thank you. So,
I'm wrong, we do not have mutual aid agreements or any kind of agreement with Sarnia Fire at this time.
No, they do participate in the county mutual aid. But we have no specific agreements with, sorry.
To activate county mutual aid, there is a bit of a process to go through to do so.
That's right. And the reality is that they may not be in a position to release said apparatus. Right, so depending on their policies, depending on their call volume. So likely, the more likely is that we're gonna get it from Petrolia. Which means, again, it's another, what are we talking about, 9 minutes, 7 minutes away. So in the end, this benefits, it does benefit Kamlaki. It just doesn't benefit the same as if it was parked at Kamlaki's Hall.
And that was more to my point. Lastly. Is, well, it is great to have this added to the fleet, and to have these firefighters trained on something new and something that's becoming more the norm, obviously. What happens at the end of 5 years? I mean, if, even if it's 6 or 7 years, let's say. You know, what happens? What is the cost of replacing that vehicle? Where is that money coming from? What do the reserves have to look like? Because you don't want to do all this and then in 5 years or 6 or 7 years, it's gone. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just unattainable. So long-term is kind of where I'm looking at from that question.
Absolutely, and that's a very good question, if I may, through the chair. You know, first of all, let's take a look at the apparatus itself. Part of this is going to say, is this going to work for us? Right, and if you read the report, we talked about 3 different items that are of concern. One is this an option that works for us? Right now, we have a low-cost way of not having to enter agreements, and we're going to see that if this is a suitable capability for us. Number 2, it will then assist us with entering a life cycle management program, which means there's nothing to say that in 4 or 5 years, 6 years, we can't purchase another ladder truck that's near the end of its lifespan and put it in place, and it's still cheaper than looking at a brand new one. That might buy us some time to kind of look at that and say, is this something we want to do? The other part of it is too, is if it is a system that we want to maintain, is there a specific design or type of truck that's going to work best for us? And this gives us an opportunity to see that as well. For instance, it's only a 75-foot ladder. Is it really 75-foot ladder good enough? Or are we going to need a 100-foot ladder? And I mean, at the same token, we can't predict the growth that's going to happen within the municipality for the next 5 years, right? So do we end up with homes that are sitting further away from the curb, which means for us to extend over them could be distance more? We don't know. Those are all variables. So for a low cost, it gets us into the ladder market to see if we want to stay there, right? The cost of this will basically be covered by us not having to pay for an automatic aid agreement for that time. If at the end of that time, we decide that this is not something we want to do anymore, then we can enter an automatic aid agreement and pay for it that way. This is an option. This gives us a bit of a way of feeling it out, if you will, as per the recommendation of the fire master plan, right? It said recommended getting an aerial or entering an automatic aid agreement with those that do, right? This right now is a cost-effective way of saying, okay, for the next 5 years, we're a bit more like we own it. Now, if we want to in another 5 or 6 years look at another type of apparatus or another used apparatus, St. Thomas, for example, will have one coming due in 5 years. We might get the same deal. If not, we can start looking at forecasting how we're going to replace it. But this is a budget effective way of getting us a capability inside the hall and giving us a start down that path. Life cycle management plan is going to come to you. What do you say? We're going to sit down for August.
Yeah, hopefully August meeting.
This time frame, and you'll fit right in there. Right now, it's about $1.2 million to buy a custom-made pumper. If we buy what we call stock or factory direct pumper with no bells and whistles, it runs around $750,000 to $800,000. A stock ladder truck, 78-foot stick, runs about 1.2, 1.3 million. Right, up to 1.8, depending on what you want. Right, but the nice thing is, lots more municipalities are starting to buy them, which means there's gonna be a lot more used apparatus that are in good shape that will fulfill the role in the next 5 years. Whereas right now, it's limited market. So it gives us some bounce time for the money. To say, okay, we're meeting the requirements of the master plan, we're meeting the risk that is out there. And we're doing it in a effective way for the taxpayer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first of all, I must say that right off the bat, I was totally against this and for several reasons, but I do have some questions that have been answered, and I want to thank Councilor Rodriguez because she did take some of mine that I had as well. When I go back to looking at pump 3, for example, let's start there. Our pump 3, I understand is, if I'm correct, is a little bit older than what this model is.
1999.
1998, your worship.
So what was the plan with that one? When were we going to replace it? Or do we have a plan on that one?
There was no intention to replace that pump at this time.
What would you have done if that pump died on us or no good?
Sold it.
Sold it? So we would have been down a pumper.
It's only the reserve pumper right now. We have to, if I may, we have the ability to pump. We have 2 frontline pumpers. We have a frontline tanker, 2 frontline tankers that also have structural pumps on them.
And so pump 3 is basically a backup.
Backup to the backup.
Some of the history behind it, it's more of an in-town or a Wyoming pumper, where if we have a structure fire in town and you have to lay a long distance down the roadway, that truck would respond generally second or third to hook into the hydrant and boost the pressure to relay an extra 300, 400, 500 feet. So, and we've used it extensively on training to do that relay pumping. So we're getting that same capability out of this truck with the addition of it having a ladder on it as well.
So, okay, thank you. You've answered that question. You did comment about it costs $1,800 a year for the ladder certification. I believe that you mentioned that, Chief. Do we have, or have you had an opportunity to look at the maintenance records of this truck and any of the results with that? I know they would keep it maintained, but is there been traditionally any ongoing issues with it or that I've seen or heard from? Like I'm always leery when we're buying somebody else's used stuff. And this is like a 2011, which obviously better than our other pumper, but still I have concerns about used stuff.
So it's currently in service in St. Thomas, and when we went to look at it on a week ago Monday, it was actually out at a structure fire over that previous weekend. The chief down there said their firefighters, they love that truck. They would rather take that one than their new 2023 ladder that does not have air conditioning working inside it. So it's from the appearance of it, it's well maintained. It was clean. It's a 20-year-old vehicle or 23-year-old vehicle. So there's the odd bump and scrape here, but it's in very good condition. We did not see the records. They said that they would make them available to us. I think we would pursue to get, but yeah, we didn't see the exact service records from them. We were down there last week.
So, okay, but yes, and I think that's a good thing, DT for to look at those records to ensure what, if you see a trend of where things are going and what the cost could be on that. So, as Councilor Rodriguez has said, in 5-6 years' time, this thing is a lot older. Number one, we don't know for sure if St. T is going to flip unless they've got another one to flip out at that time. Do we just keep having it until we find another deal as a backup? Do we have to replace our main ones? But what's the status and timetabling on that?
Yeah, we could, it would be the same instance as we have pumper 3 right now. It's an available backup pumper. It can sit as a reserve status so that in the event we needed to take a frontline pumper out of service for repairs or maintenance, we have a truck available. This would be the same thing. We could still use it as a pumper. If required, if we needed to take another one out of service.
If I may, through the chair. The term ladder is getting things a little bit sidelined here. The main purpose of this vehicle is that elevated master stream. Right, the ability to get water in the air and pointing down, which is always the best angle on the fire and a lot of modern construction homes. So, you know, the big concern for us is, yes, we're gonna keep the ladder up to date because that we have to. That's the way it goes when it comes to actually being certified. But the big use for us is that large amount of volume of water being able to put it in an elevated position in a timely manner. That's the real purpose behind this. Would you not agree, DC Ford?
I think versus the master plan, which is fine on a piece of paper, but my concern I see here is eliminating some risk for our firefighters, which I think is very important as well. Where are we getting the money? Do you have money in reserves for this? Because we're going back to council, looking at, we're gonna pay $40,000 plus probably tax or whatever on that. Where are we getting this money?
So if I may through the chair, we do currently have about $120,000 in the truck reserve between the two halls.
And where was that targeted? For what? Just any vehicle, or were we looking for that money to go to a target that we saw that we needed to replace within so much of a time frame?
I mean, just 52,000 would be the price going back to council. There's 12,000 in decals and things like that have to be done. That's quoted here.
On top of the 40,000, so we're looking at 52 then.
Sorry, I just wanted.
If
No, I appreciate that, that's
if I
fine.
may, the chair, the coverage, even if we sell pump 3 at its lower end, we're still going to make that particular money recovered back for the lighting and for the deckling.
For the 52,000, the entire 52.
No, for the lighting of the deckling. So that's why that 12,000 is mentioned as a different point and is not put in that total. Is because when we sell pump 3, we will get that money so that we can get it deckled and we can get the lighting put on.
So that money that.
So you only expect to get 12,000 from upper.
Well, I would suspect we'll probably get about 20,000 for the truck, and then any remainder would go into reserves.
Okay, so not to put everybody on the spot here, but DC for you like that? This is a good idea.
I think so. For the cost of getting a ladder truck into the fire department, like I've been looking for probably the last 6 months at the used market, and we're well over 100,000 for a decent used truck. And those are generally in the States. In the report, we had added in there about conversion kit, because in the States, they have a different hose fitting. So like their threads are different on their fire hoses. So we would need to convert all the fittings on the truck over. So that increases the cost. There's nothing out there this close right now, an opportunity to bring a ladder truck into this fire department.
You see, Jordan, are you?
I support it very much.
Go ahead, I'm done.
No, back to your question because I interrupted it. Which was about the reserves, what's currently in reserves, is it tagged for something specific? I don't think you have an answer to that.
If I may, to the chair, I'm not aware of anything that was specifically tagged for. Certainly, it's good. We have a good chunk of reserves if that's the case we lose a pump or an engine. When I say pump, I mean literally the pump inside the vehicle. Or the engine of a vehicle, we will still have plenty for that. And we're still in a good position to start building upon it for our life cycle management program. We do know overall that we're going to have to look at the amount we're putting in reserves per year and likely increase that. But again, that's a conversation for budget time. But there is There is a current amount there this is not gonna really hurt us that bad with our reserves. And we're also bringing money in, which we haven't been doing in the past. We're actually getting some revenue coming back, which goes into truck reserves. So if everything, in the ideal world, we get like 35,000-40,000 for the old pump 3 and we're sitting. But in worst case scenario, we're still not gonna be down that full 40,000 plus tax in our reserves. Something's gonna go back in there to replace it. Not, maybe it's an entirely, but certainly to offset it a bit.
Go ahead, Adam.
So just a question. Given its status as a reserve piece of equipment, do you have to upgrade the lights? Or can the existing lights still meet the standards?
We could do a simple switch out to get red and blue put on. We don't have a full estimate what it's gonna cost the lights. We forecasted that it will cost around $2,000 to decal it and thereabouts, and then about $10,000 to put lighting on. But that would be replacing all lighting on the system, so the floodlights, all that stuff. Excuse me. We don't have those permanent numbers yet because they won't give us an estimate until they can see the truck, put their hands in the truck and see what's actually there. Right now, all the lights currently work. We may not have to do anything with it at all. But again, I'll refer to DC Freer. What did we pay for when we switched the
I think it's in the
tank? Blue, was it about 5,000 for the truck?
Late last year, we had the half of the lights on Rescue 4 and Tanker 2 switched to blue to match the rest of the fire department's vehicles that are red and blue lighting, and they were roughly about $5,000 per truck to replace the lights.
So if we're going with something simple like that, then we could do a significantly less amount of lighting.
Same with the decal, and given its status as a reserve truck that we only been in our fleet for 5 years. Realistically, just rebadging the number of the vehicle and removing St. Thomas and putting our crest over top would be basic.
Yeah, we would be looking for the fire department logo on the door. Changing it to whatever the department label or ladder 3, I think we had it in there as our thing, and then up on the ladder, taking off the St. Thomas Fire Rescue to change it to Plympton-Wyoming Fire Department.
So do we know what the lights are already on? Will they match ours?
No, they're all the old style incandescent lights. They're not LED lighting.
Their new trucks would be though.
Their new trucks are, yes.
So does everybody use different colors? For lighting?
The same standard, it's just taking time to get there.
So
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, your estimates are like worst case scenario for rebanding and for lighting.
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, I think if we really look at the cost of just the stickering alone or the decaling alone, you're probably only looking at about less than $1,000, but we forecasted worst case scenario. So, I mean, it costs 1,600, I think, to do my truck, right? And we're not doing the same. We're actually gonna, the crest is gonna be the same. So, and we're not doing the back with the chevrons. Chris has the ability to literally do that himself. We can buy the stickers and stick them on ourselves.
Palmer 1 had that. We spent there was multiple hours, multiple nights to stick all the little dots on in between all the diamond, the checker plate on the back of old pump 1.
if I may,
Yeah.
in our current tables, you have some lighting.
Yep.
For 5,200.
So that would be,
So with that,
let's make sure that's our test page. No, it's not gonna be.
Tamaki Fire, responding to 6282 Fleming Road, Camp Lockheed, for a large pile of tires on fire.
Is there a large? Sorry.
We may have to, Chris, I think. Yeah, even go in, major hall. So where was I? So when it comes to lighting, we have some flexibility there. I mean, right now it would work. They're using it, it's in service now.
sorry, the lighting on the current.
Sorry.
tables Is
My-
that covering a full lighting replacement on that vehicle for 5,200, or is that a partial?
So that was replacement and distribution of blue lighting and some of the clear lighting. That wasn't a full lighting kit.
So at $5,200, that was a partial. On this proposed new one, is it a full? So you're probably upwards of about $10,000.
That's what we figured.
Kieran,
That's why we estimated about 10 grand.
If you're.
Yes.
Everything.
if not more, because this is only a partial at 5,200.
If I may, believe it or not, the ladder truck actually has less lighting on it.
Okay,
Still,
still.
because of where the ladder sits.
Yeah.
It can't have a full bar. It actually has two small bars along the corners, so it actually would. It probably would take less. But. And then it's just a matter of putting the LEDs on the side of the unit. It actually uses less lighting. Which is kind of weird if you figure it's a bigger truck, but it really does use less lighting.
Well, you have, Kirsten? Gary, you have anything else on that?
No, I don't. I think, all my stuff's been answered. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll make my comments now.
Oh,
Well, you know,
here's the face.
this is a pretty important item for us. Certainly at this time of year. You know, we're in the middle of the year for budget. Know that, I've been pre-warned about having to increase the budget for next year for truck reserves and stuff like that. You and I've talked about a little bit about that, chief. You know, I don't think this is such a bad idea, but there's several things that make me a little bit uncomfortable, and some of the things that I'm uncomfortable with, obviously some of the members out there in the public are a little uncomfortable with too, and certainly I've had a couple of emails back about why would you purchase a 23-year-old truck? No planning, not listed in your budget. What is it, short term or long term? Why purchase on a whim? If you asked to see the maintenance records with costs and so on, a lot of it's been discussed here already. This isn't for me, this is from outside of here.
Fair, it's all fair.
All good questions, right? Who's certified to do the repairs to this type of a fire truck? What will it cost to get this truck in frontline service, mechanical repairs, etc.? Operator certifications, who can certify ladder operator? Question. Of course, you got decals, firefighting tools, ladders. What's the town's plan for usage in the long term? Respond to medical calls question. I don't know why that's in there, but I didn't write this. And how much money is the chief putting in the yearly budget for repairs to this truck? These are all kind of quite stuff we've kicked around here, but what makes me uncomfortable with it is that we are, this is something we talk about at council all the time. Don't bring stuff in the middle of the year that we haven't budgeted for, we haven't planned for. So this item obviously this is new to me. I'm sure it's new to the committee. And like I said, I'm repeating myself here, but 23-year-old truck. We've talked about this numerous times, not just with their fire trucks, but with their mechanical trucks and everything else about, not keeping vehicles until we got to spend a bunch of money on maintenance on them, because the costs, especially on those big trucks, can be huge as far as maintenance and upkeep. So that kind of thing, makes me uncomfortable. However, saying that, we've talked about this before, supporting our fighters and making sure what they do is safe and that's the way of doing things.
I may end up leaving.
I do agree with that, but the other thing that makes me uncomfortable is 5 years and we have no idea whether we want a ladder truck or we don't want a ladder truck. And if we do, $1.5 million, 5 years, I don't think we'll have $1.5 million, especially for something new. Now going to be an added vehicle to our fleet. This is huge money we're talking about in 5 years. Can we buy another used one? Maybe, maybe not. So there's a lot of questions around it that being here tonight in a quick fire committee meeting, it's hard to answer all of this stuff. I'm not sure how the council is going to answer it. And I've heard from my committee members here and their questions, they're all very, very good concerns, so. I know what you'd like here, you'd like this committee to support your
Listen,
recommendation.
if I may, Mr. Chair, I brought it to your, for your consideration.
Yeah,
It would be lovely if you support it, and obviously that's what a lot of the folks
I
online
would
would see. But it is, again, your discretion.
yes,
If I may, ask. I don't know the formal language in this council chamber yet. You think I should by now? Because they have a fire they've had to attend to, you've already stated that you probably have to leave. Could we consider due to that we're kind of being cuffed a little bit here? To defer this to council for discussion?
So, yes, if you'd like to not support it, yet still bring it up for further discussion. You can amend the motion by removing that the pump be received, and this is the section you could remove, and that the Fire Executive Committee supports the purchase of the St. Thomas Fire and Rescue Service for $3,500. So you would delete that.
This is exactly what we utilize.
So it would become a purchase of a 2001 truck be received
This is exactly what.
and forwarded
Scenario why we
and
need this
forwarded
truck.
to council for approval.
Not 3,500, but
And
40,000.
forwarded to council for approval. You would even take out the cost.
Oh, take it out altogether, yeah.
so,
Now you guys would have to be in agreement with what I'm suggesting. And have another.
Fire, on fire, big, second page.
If I may, depending on the size of this fire, this is exactly why we need a ladder truck. Like a tire fire, for example, where you have, you're gonna have to sustain a flow of water for a long period of time. You're not gonna be able to do that with manpower.
Well, I'd rather we just deal with the fire and we'll defer this.
Set up, there's no.
yeah.
It's a sales
So
pitch.
just let me intervene, he intervened here we can move this along. There is a timeline, right, chief?
There is,
That they need to have an answer.
It has to go to council anyway.
Well, yeah, I know that.
and they're aware of that timeline. And so again, if your recommendation is to push it on to council, obviously I'm gonna take whatever I can get. But I mean, at the end of the day, your concerns are genuine and they're not without the provocation of those thoughts that we've had the same thoughts. The question, I guess, is we kind of look at it and say, I know it's $45,000 when we come taxes and stuff, right? But 40 grand basically. But if you look at that, right, we spent that on my truck last year. I don't know, a pickup truck that you're gonna get less than 5 years out of. Right?
It's but my issue here, since I've got the floor, it's not any of that. It's that, number one, we don't have a plan in place. It's a 23-year-old vehicle. We're not budgeted for it. I appreciate the fact it can come out of reserves, but it's just not in our plan, so it's kind of just been brought up here. So what I'd like to do here, because what I'm hearing I don't hear a big against it, but I'm hearing there's still more questions to be had. I know you got a timeline, a month or what you said, the end of June or something like that. They want an answer whether you're gonna take it or you're not.
They're gonna want it, yeah, basically, yeah.
So to move this along, now, number one, we're missing our two fire chiefs. Why don't we move it along? We're gonna take the word supports out of this. But move it to council for Wednesday. Adam's already put out an email saying there's a possibility of an issue for the Wednesday's council meeting. And that this is what we're talking about. And move it there and let's have the discussion at the full council, because it's a pretty important item and it's going to be an issue. So
Given the current circumstances with the imminent situation. Yes. Is the mover and seconder in favor of the amendment? Okay.
And I have a
Process out.
I think that.
Does anyone have, I think I'm gonna, well, wait, if I hear another page. I'll leave.
No, go ahead. We've
closing.
accommodated the situations.
yeah, we've got a corner period.
So,
And I think the remaining of the discussion is more general in nature, so Nicole and I can move it forward as best as we can, given the circumstances.
Well, and I do appreciate it, and I do apologize. Firefighters can be very nasty,
Oh, yeah,
so
Remember Hagerstown, go for it.
don't breathe it.
I have a pack right in my truck. I really, listen, if I may, just thank you for your time. to
Initial
consider that,
amendment, please, Nick.
You know, and the questions were very well thought out, and I do appreciate them. So,
Up here.
We'll see what happens.
thank you very, very much. Hopefully I'm just gone for a few
Stay
minutes.
safe.
Kristen should initial the amendment.
Oh, yeah, you want to initial the amendments.
Hi, Nicole.
Thank you, ma'am. We have to add the words as amended there somewhere? It's called. Oh, we have to make sure we,
We're buying a $3,500 truck.
we'll take it.
Yeah, he said 3,500.
Oh.
So we were talking.
The deal.
Okay, moved by Christian Rodriguez, second by Gary Atkinson, that the report prepared by Eric Campbell, Director of Fire Emergency Services, and Chris Freer, District Chief, regarding the purchase of a 2001 E1 Cyclone II Superior rear-mounted ladder with a 1,500 gallon per minute hail pump be received, and that the report be forwarded to council for their approval as amended. That, all in favor?
So from the discussions, I will talk to the fire chief as well, and Nicole and I will work on the report with them. The purchase price looking for approval will include net HST, lights, decals, and the dealer fee on the next report.
Yeah, because.
Yes, because that HST at the end there was a little bit of a surprise, because that's
Yeah.
another $5,200.
We only have to pay the 1.0176% of it, of the
Oh.
HST, so it's a
Right,
smaller
right.
amount, but it's still an amount that was not contemplated in the initial motion. So again, we will amend the motion so that council is approving the net expenditure. So net HST, lights, decals, and the dealer fee.
And I also appreciate that he kept. And really like. All those values together or what he's. 55,000.
Truck will have to be safety checked. There's more expenses there than.
Likely included in the.
Yeah, that could, yeah, so. Okay, well, we've done that. That's,
Here's.
All right.
Originally, but that's
okay, moving on then, bylaws none this time, number 8, correspondence, no items at this time. Number 9.1 there, they've got their joint health and safety, committee meetings there, May 21st, 2024. You've had an opportunity to look at those. That is something that going back, the working document, the firefighters had asked the fire committee to do is take a look at their safety minutes and pick out any items in there that maybe weren't being addressed, so. And 9.2 there, Scott Jordan's 45 years of service. There is an invitation that's been sent out to all of us and the council and committee and firefighters. 58 firefighters or something on that list. So hopefully everybody takes a look at that, and anybody listening tonight, invitation, I believe, is it online?
No.
No, because it's an internal,
Firefighters and council.
just for the firefighters and council, okay? Yeah, okay. Item number 10 on the agenda tonight, new business. Christian, do you have any new business?
I think they did, but I forgot.
Okay, I'll go to Gary next then.
nothing really new, just an announcement. Follow up, obviously, Saturday is Bacon Burgers here in Wyoming.
Oh, it's the Saturday.
Saturday, and I will be going to council on Wednesday, inviting all council members. If they're available to not only prep on Thursday and Friday, but to help out on Saturday as well, Mr. Chair. If you're available.
Yeah, I was gonna ask Chris what time would be a good time. I think last time I went, 10:30 or 11 o'clock, like throughout the lunch
Mhm.
hours are busy.
I did the breakfast, 8 to 10. Or
Oh,
something.
you did the early, okay. I'll ask Chris, or, well, Wednesday, we'll be here Wednesday too, so.
I will be doing my part by consuming as many as I can reasonably, so.
Yeah. So it's a good day.
Fill another pick. Thank you, Mr. Sabansky. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Did you remember what you had? No?
Mustn't have been important.
Oh, everything you have is important.
Thank you.
Okay, then, there's no closed meeting tonight at all.
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Okay. Moved by Gary Atkinson, second by Kristen Rodriguez at the fire. Yes, yes.
I remembered, sorry, I'm just gonna get it while I remembered. Under new business, that, I wanted to discuss, but we can discuss it at the next meeting, but at least it's noted. So normally in our regular council meetings, we do, counselor reports. I know when I'm at the Conservation Authority meetings, the manager does, director, Ken Phillips, does, his report of what he's done since we've last seen him. I wanted to throw it out there, if our fire chief could do the same for us in this forum. I think it would be a good way to let the community kind of know what he's been kind of doing and up to, and it's more for that, right? To kind of, the mayor's not even listening, so.
Totally listed. Everything you say.
So what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, it's not a bad idea, but I think going back to previous term, what we were trying to do is not have everybody at the council meeting, like the fire chief, if there was a fire issue.
I think Councilor Rodriguez is referring to committee.
Yeah.
Oh, just the committee. Oh, well, you have no.
I was just using
Yeah.
that as an
Okay,
example.
okay, I thought it was at council, no, at the
No.
committee. Oh, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
show how, you know.
We can ask him if he can give a.
I think he tells us an awful lot anyways.
About certain things, but then other things, I think it'd be nice to know, like, you know, was there an education week? Was there, you know what I mean? Just in a formal format, I guess. And maybe contain it to a formal format.
You can talk to me. I thought it was at council because we were trying not to have everybody at council meeting.
So we're attempting to have quarterly budget updates.
Yes.
Would it be then preferable maybe to, with that quarterly budget updates, also provide information in regards to what the department has achieved, carried out in those
Yeah.
quarters?
Yeah,
And that way it's not necessarily being done in an informal way, but it's also being done through an information report where council can ask questions as well, or committee in this circumstance.
and it just gives the public a little bit more information. So I think that's great. I think good. We only meet every other month anyway, so I don't know how you do the quarterly in that.
I think the way that we're running the new system for council can carry over to this one, where we have a report that comes in.
Yeah, that's what
This
I'm-
is what we were spending, this is what we're doing, da, 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 da. It's an update and it's an information, not only for us, but also for council and for the public, for the accountability of where their dollars are being spent.
Yeah, so we just did that with this one, did we not? But more about what he's also doing in the community. It's kind of in that sense, not just in a financial, it's more as what is a fire chief doing in the community to promote the educational stuff. It kind of gives more of that piece to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I think it's a good idea and so we could talk to the chief and ask him.
For me, and my
Ask him.
understanding,
So let me sit down with
Yeah.
the clerk's department, the fire chief and myself and figure out a reasonable way to bring that forward.
yeah, because you don't want to interrupt in privacy issues and things like that. For me, it was more about our biggest responsibility. And through our training just recently, with the Ontario Fire Marshals, is education, communication, all that to prevent that stuff. Right? So how are we doing that? And where is that accountability? Where are those conversations? They need to constantly, to me, be happening and be proactive and engaging with our public. And so how is that happening? Every quarter or whatever you want it to be. So that's kind of, if that makes sense, kind of where I was going with that.
Have a discussion
Yeah.
on how to best ensure council's kept up to date on those processes.
No, I think it's probably a good idea, and now that we're on video, on YouTube. And there is members of the public, I'm sure watching here tonight. Interested people sit around this ladder truck here tonight, and so he gives a report at our meetings. That's the kind of stuff he may report. Hey, we're looking at this, or we're looking at that, or here's the plan for Chemlac or Wyoming. And so the members of the public can certainly have a look at what's going on in their, so yeah, not a bad idea. Okay, that's it.
Yep.
Anything else? Okay, once again, moved by Gary, second by Kristen, that the fire exec committee adjourns until August the 12th, 2024 meeting, or at the call of the chair. All in favor? Gary, thank you. Boy, that's a smooth rate and pen. Wow, I like that.